Welcome back, everyone. POW Ponder Weather here. In this update, we're going to be tracking our next cross-country storm system. But first, I wanted to update you on this La Nina that's been alive and prevalent for the past 3 years. So if we start off and take a look at some of these sea surface temperatures out here in the equatorial Pacific, you can see it's been plenty cool. And that's the indication that the La Nina is still strong, but we are starting to get hints of warmer temperatures, warmer sea surface temperatures up here towards Hawaii. And those have tried to been building southbound over the coming weeks will slowly be eating away at this La Nina. At the same time, we see well above average Gulf of Mexico as well as along the East Coast. That was compliments of this third warmest, January on record across the U.S. And that was also an indication why we had such severe weather across the southeast, and those are still continued warm. And so as the United States does warm up this week, we are going to be susceptible for more stronger storms as we get deeper into the week. So here's the latest update on the La Nina. You can see it's been trending, slowly within that La Nina area, but at times we're trying to trend towards that end zone neutral. But we take a look and of all the model guidance going forward, the trend is your friend, folks. So after 3 years of La Nina, I think we can finally start to say goodbye as we head towards springtime. And then the trend, I think, just continues as we get deeper into the summer, but especially by the fall. All indications by then, we could actually be looking at an El Nino type setup. So definitely a transition year on the table as we trend from a La Nina now all the way through an El Nino by the time we get into the fall months. But we also are concerned whenever we make that transition from that La Nina to an end zone neutral, those are typically above average severe weather active years. And that trend has already come to fruition in January, where that was the third most tornadoes on record. It was a very active month. Basically every single week we had severe storms and tornadic setups across these areas as a very active time frame. And if you take a look at the overall severe weather reports, in fact, there were 793 on average for the last 10 years. That's more than double. Typically, we only average about 348 severe weather reports during that time frame just in the month of January. Of course, it's winter, folks. Now that we're heading into February, we start to see some warmer temperatures build back onto the table. And yeah, like I showed you with some of those above average sea surface temperatures, that's going to bring plenty of juice. And as we have these systems comes across, we unfortunately could be looking at some more severe storms. So if you do like detailed weather breakdowns on North America and are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel. It's also important to hit the like button as well. It definitely helps out more than you know. So let's take a look at the overall setup with the jet stream, because as the situation changes this week and as we start to rebound from that Arctic blast, we start to look out here and towards the Pacific, and we start to see more systems coming across with these active systems coming across the Aleutian Islands. And I do feel the rains come back for much of the West and California. And these are going to be the culprit of setting up a cross-country storm that's going to be highlighted on this video as we move across from west to east all week long. So you can take a look at the setup on the overall water vapor imagery. This transport, water vapor imagery coming in from the west on Saturday as we have more stronger storms entering parts of the West Coast. We have a deepening low pressure, 988 millibars. That's going to bring a lot of high winds associated with it and more heavy rain, especially along the coastal regions. And yes, that does include portions of Northern California. You will get in the action, but notice what's happening up here in the Northeast. It's pretty clear, right? There's a low pressure at 953 millibar. That's a deepening Arctic. That's a blast. I mean, we got some serious cold air heading in up there through Hudson Bay, down here through portions of New England today. And in fact, it really amplifies and deepens into tomorrow. We could be seeing the coldest temperatures in that area in years. So let's break down the details this morning. These are actual wind chills up there across Hudson Bay. widespread 50 below zero feels like temperatures. You see in Minneapolis, there are 29 degrees below zero. That is some serious cold, and that cold is starting to enter portions of New England into Maine here with widespread, if not 30 and 40 degrees, feels like temperatures below zero, and it just gets even colder as we get into tomorrow. So here's the setup. We've got a nasty, strong Arctic front that'll be moving across the Great Lakes, pushing across through into the Northeast. So we're expecting snow squalls to kind of break out along this Arctic front and sudden burst of heavy snow with squall lines and even whiteout conditions at times. It definitely turns very dangerous in these areas. In the wake of this Arctic front, we could be looking at some very heavy lake effect snow as well. Here's the timeline of this snow squall as it moves across, but also back behind it, we've got those bitterly cold temperatures. Gusty winds lead to dangerous wind chills in the Northeast and Friday into Saturday. Here's some estimated wind chills coming across Caribou, 57 below zero. I mean, that is some insanely cold stuff. 39 below zero, 39 in Portland, even 7 below in New York City. Feels like, yeah, some of these areas could be the coldest they've actually experienced in decades. So this is definitely a rare blast of Arctic air as we hit going into later today and especially into tomorrow morning. So definitely be prepared, because we're talking about hypothermia possibility and very limited, limit your time from outdoors, because that could literally happen in just a matter of minutes. So let's take a look at the overall setup. So here's the breakdown on the rain for the next 2 days as we're watching this storm system. So you can see the rest of the country is pretty clear. We had a pretty cold week, and that Arctic blast is going to be rebounding. So as it rebounds, we've got a lot of nicer days ahead while we're waiting for this storm system out west. So here's the setup going to the weekends. There's your heavier rains entering the picture back again across portions of Washington and Oregon, through portions of Northern California. It's starting to creep in Central California. We are going to have some elevated rains in the state of Florida, but other than that, that's about it as far as the precipitation front. But as we watch this system come in, yeah, we're going to have to be concerned about those stronger winds with that low pressure down to 988 millibars. No question about that. Definitely some gusty winds. And yes, up there in the Northeast, you better believe it. Those winds are going to be gusty. I think I was reading Mount Washington, New Hampshire up there could get near all-time wind chill records. The record all-time is 103 below zero. They're forecasting 100 below, feels like, wind chill heading into tomorrow morning. So that tells you how rare this system is. Even those areas that gets the most extreme weather, so a lot of areas on Earth are getting down to 100 below zero, feels like, come on Saturday morning on top of that summit there. But as we go into Monday, like I mentioned, things rebound pretty quickly. That Arctic air quickly moves out and replaced by those south winds. And that's all it takes. When you get a south wind, you got much warmer conditions entering back in the table. So these are actually high temperatures by then. So I know a lot of the people down here in the south and the southern plains and the mid-south are going to be welcoming these temperatures after what they've been through this week with all that ice that unfolded. But look, it's going to be hard pressed to even find a high below freezing on Monday. You have to go to the mountain regions to find that. But other than that, it's going to be plenty warm, well above average temperatures coming for your Monday. So pretty nice day for a good part of the country, but we are going to be watching this trough, right? So it starts out west over the weekend. So as we dive into Monday, we start to see the little bit of a buckle again. So with that buckle, it's going to drag down a little bit of a colder air, but there's really no Arctic air with this type system, but it is going to be cold enough to at least snow in the higher elevations. And that's exactly what's going to happen as we go into Monday afternoon across portions of Wyoming and getting into the western slopes of Colorado. But out ahead of it, it's going to be pretty windy at ahead of this trough. And let's show you some of these winds as they come across the midsection of the country by the time we get into your Monday afternoon, yeah, those winds could be gusting 30 to 40 miles an hour. Some sporadic wind advisories could be issued across these areas. So definitely be on high alert as these systems will be moving through. But as we go into Tuesday, things get a little bit more active. We have a little bit more lift. Things actually kind of slow down a little bit. So rains do come back for Texas, but it's not freezing rain. This is just rain, right? It's going to be plenty warm it's not even going to be close to freezing. So this will be all rain, across a good part of central South Texas, getting into North Texas through Oklahoma. There's the kind of mini boundary here across this swath of precipitation, moving across Missouri through portions of southern Illinois here in Indiana, waiting for this trough to really start digging in. But it does slow down, and when it does slow down, it adds a little bit more instability, taps into some of these more Gulf moisture. You can see the darker greens kind of highlighted there. That's an indication of some heavier rain showers, and some of those could start to turn strong to severe as we go into Wednesday night into Thursday timeframe. So you can see where the freeze line is. It's well to the north here through across the Ohio Valley. So north of this is going to be freezing, but south of that it's obviously not freezing and adding into the warm sector, and that is culprit of some stronger storms. So because we look at the upper level winds, and by the time we head into Wednesday night, we see the little buckle, right? We see this little kink in the hose, if you will, and it tries to go tilted, negatively tilted. And as it does that, that's going to provide a little bit more lift in the atmosphere, tapping into some of this warmer sea surface temperatures, Gulf waters here, and have some instability associated with it. And that's exactly what the latest SIPS guidance is highlighting. Wednesday night into Thursday, some stronger storms entering portions of East Texas, getting across southeastern portions of Oklahoma, getting into Arkansas as well as Louisiana, back into Mississippi. And that's exactly what the Colorado State University has as well. So this is the favorite area for some of those to turn severe as we get into Wednesday night into your Thursday timeframe. And that obviously shifts off to the east, headed into later Thursday, going into your Friday across portions of Georgia and then the Carolinas. So there's the setup on Friday as this moves across, as that low pressure kind of forms that comma Q shape. Notice there's not much Arctic air with it, right? So it's all in the form of rain as it moves across. Some of these could be stronger, definitely some gustier winds associated with it, as well as this kind of squall line that moves across Georgia through the Carolinas, through portions of West Virginia, into Virginia, through Pennsylvania, all the way up to upstate New York, getting back into the Northeast here. Again, it's all rain, not snow. And then it really comes across portions of Wisconsin, going into Michigan there. But it is going to be windy, right? So these are the winds as throughout the week as this system comes across with this cross-country storm, originating in California for Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and then moving across the central U.S. and then definitely moving into through the Ohio Valley, getting to the Northeast, with those winds associated with it along the way. And then there's your rain prospects, right? So all indications, we have some elevated rains coming back for the west, northwest areas, Washington and Oregon, Northern California, not really much of Southern California. Notice the desert's pretty dry. Notice these besides the higher elevations to get the snow, this little pocket, kind of a dry slot. It's not really until you tap into some of these Gulf moisture where it really starts in portions of Central Texas, North Texas, and eastbound. Could pick up definitely some heavier rains out of this deal, especially as the system slows down. So we could be looking at sporadic flooding, in these areas, especially as we get into, say, Wednesday and your Thursday timeframe, as these will slowly shift across and move across, heading into Thursday and Friday of next week through the Ohio Valley and into the Northeast by the time we head into your Friday timeframe. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update where I protect you before and after the storm.